Welcome everyone to our first ever bonus episode that wasn't because we went a podcast 5 hours recording with Sandline. I'm Gravier, joined with a very special guest with us today. We had him on Conversations Avoided a few months ago. Please welcome to the first time to the Mostly Pilot Night, Anthony Francis.
How you doing? I'm really glad to be here. I'm excited about this show.
Yeah. Like I said, this is, as I'm saying, this is Terrifier's become, for better or worse, a cultural icon at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. You were able to see this, I believe, last week. I just happened to see Terrifier 3 literally last night.
Well, good. You're fresh.
It's about, yeah. I immediately went home because I can't write in the dark, theater with all my notes and everything. I immediately went home. Wife's like, "Hey, you're back. How's the movie?" I'm like, "Hold on, I gotta write everything down."
Right. That's how I am with a review. As soon as I leave a movie, I go out to my car and I sit for an hour.
Yeah, and really had to digest this because we're talking about everything Art the Clown with All Hallows Eve and the Terrifier trilogy. We're excluding the two shorts that existed for Art the Clown because typically when we do something like this, we just look at theatrical releases unless the short has this major breakthrough to a character or to the theme.
Sure.
So we went over plot points and stuff like that on the previous, but we'll just kind of give a quick recap of this, and we'll still do our standard layout of first thoughts, highlights, low points, and we are doing our olives this week are hefty garbage bags because let's face it, Art carries the world's strongest garbage bag with him everywhere he goes.
I want that for my kitchen.
Yeah, and it's not even like one of those flex garbage bags either, right?
No, it's just a sling over garbage bag, and apparently it carries some heavy stuff and doesn't leak much.
And it's lots of sharp things in it too. So kind of just quick highlight of All Hallows Eve. It's essentially I'd say Damien Leone's VHS, his version of VHS.
Yeah.
We get three kind of short stories, two of them dealing with Art the Clown. We have essentially what I call a world's creepiest train station that has locked doors, and you only get to see the train while waiting for it. And Art the Clown essentially drugs the main woman, brings her to a underground Morlock type setting with chains, and she eventually gets dragged into as I was calling it, the Rosemary's Baby rape scene, but with Morlocks and cheap Halloween masks.
Really cheap. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't want to be the first one to not.
Yeah, even to the point where we have creepy pasta masks in there too. So
too. It's the first one you see, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's just Slender Man even has almost the mask of David Cronenberg's character from Nightbreed in it too. So it's I like this. I love seeing stuff like that. Just be able to oh, I recognize that. Went to Spirit Halloween for that one. Cool.
Right. Exactly.
And the second part is
no,
for sure. Like I said, I love low budget stuff. It's just interesting to see what they pull. Second one, we have essentially alien home invasion gone wrong. The alien kind of goes in there and nothing against the practical effects on that, but he does look like a Power Rangers villain mixed with Bane from Batman with his hoses coming out of his head and everything. Art's not really in that one at all. It's just kind of a vignette. And I'd say the third one is with the costume designer going to the gas station is the quintessential Art the Clown.
Right. Agreed.
Where you have the shit smeared bathrooms, and you have, as we always call out, that scene, right? All these movies have that scene in it that everyone just raves and I threw up because of this. People fainted, all that stuff.
Mm.
And it's kind of just like the most brutal kill is in this vignette of this third one here, where he just literally takes apart the gas station attendant. So all kind in the wraparound of a what we were calling a cursed VHS, to the
Right.
point where you
Very
watch
good.
the tape and then he comes into the real world.
Yeah.
So
That's good. I don't know why I never put that together, but that's the perfect way to talk about it. The VHS. It's Leon's VHS. So no, that's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. So I mean, now did you watch these before, Anthony? Like when they came out, or did you kind of prep any of these, for watching Terrifier?
No, I mean, I watched the first two Terrifiers before you asked me to be on, so so I accidentally prepped, but I uh I just watched All Hallows Eve recently. I wasn't I want
Mm-hmm.
to say over the summer. This is my third time seeing it. But yeah, I didn't need a lot of prep for this. I don't. I'm saying that with no, I don't need prep. That's not what I mean. I just mean our son is such a Terrifier fan, and for parents listening, he's 16. It's all right. And he's Art the Clown from the new one with the Santa stuff
Oh,
this Halloween. He just finished his
nice.
costume. Uh, so yeah, no, I've been steeped in the Terrifiers for, well, I saw the original, the first official Terrifier movie when it came out. Without him, he was too young at that time. But no,
Mm-hmm.
I love these films. But I mean, we'll get into it. But yeah, no, I didn't need a lot of prep. I did accidental prep on the first two, and then I just recently, a few months ago, watched All Hallows Eve again,
Yeah.
and of course,
I mean,
Terrifier theater.
well, right, right. Do you recall any highlights and low points of All Hallows Eve for you?
Uh, there's some low points. When I first saw it, I saw it with a guy that I used to do the Theater of Blood horror podcast with. We saw it for the first time and together, and we weren't that impressed. Um, it, the second time I watched it, about a year later, I liked it better. But this time, third time's a charm. Everything's fully in focus.
Mm-hmm.
My issues with it. The highlights. The Art the Clown stuff. I mean, anytime you're talking about Art the Clown in anything, let alone his own movies, the phrase "the Art the Clown stuff" is going to be said a lot. The third one is my favorite of the three. I did like the first one. Oh, real quick, like you said, the kill in the third one of the gas station attendant.
Yeah.
Pretty fantastic for us gorehounds, uh, practical gorehounds. And Leone did his own in that one. Am I correct as well?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, his own gore, his own effects. Uh, the third one's my favorite. The first one is solid. It's solid. Like you said, it loses a bit of the creepiness when you see, to quote you, the Spirit Halloween masks. And but again, you can't fault him because he didn't have a budget. I liked the setup of the two kids and the woman babysitting. My big issue with the film upon rewatch was the middle one. I remembered not caring for it. It's a good setup, and there's a great shot when she's on the phone talking to her boyfriend about something weird is going on in the house, and Leone does his John Carpenter Halloween shot.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the background, you see it rises with a sheet over it like a ghost almost, and very slowly. That's a fantastic shot. But once you get to the alien, I had to hold back cracking up when you said it looks like a Power Rangers alien, because it does. And I might give the Power Rangers aliens a little more credit, because they were purposely designed as such. It seems like a thrown together outfit, Like they didn't know, here, let's do this and do some wires, and oh god, the face, here, I bought a mask, throw that on, it. I don't know if you've ever seen Communion with Christopher
Yes.
Walken. Yeah, one of my favorites, and really creepy film. But the aliens took me a bit of time to like the design of them, and the face kind of looks like one of the Communion aliens, only more silly. So yeah, I didn't really, long answer to your question. The middle one wasn't my favorite, and I think it bogs down the movie once the aliens are revealed, and just takes you to a silly place that maybe that's what they were trying for, but it didn't work for me in the scheme of how he was designing the movie.
Yeah, yeah. The alien is a like a typical gray alien face.
Yeah.
It was just like with, I don't know if you're a big Star Wars fan, if you watched the
Yep.
book of Boba Fett,
Yeah.
Cadius Bane, he looked like Cadius Bane with
You
a
did.
gray
You're
alien.
right. I didn't think about that either. That's
So,
great. You're opening
um,
my eyes.
yeah. So, I'm like I said, I think, personally, the third vignette works the best because this is supposed to be an old VHS, and that one felt like the true VHS style. Like it was
I
grainy,
agree.
it was choppy, and it was
Mhm.
what you expect, as she quoted, a 1982 VHS tape would
Right.
look like.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I agree. It's the best one.
yeah, and I thought for All Hallows Eve, I haven't watched the second one. I'm going to at some point in time, but Art the Clown essentially being from a cursed VHS tape,
Yeah.
which is not the lore moving forward
Nope.
at any way, stretch or form. But like even ending it with like, oh, all of a sudden the rapper became part of the next cursed VHS is how I looked at it. Like all of a sudden it went into that grainy quality. And now
Right.
we are watching the cursed VHS with art potentially coming after us.
That's a good way to look at it. Um, I'm glad that in the future films that he changed the art lore a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool for a low budget anthology. He's just born of a bad VHS tape, like you said, a
Hmm.
cursed VHS tape. But yeah, I'm glad they went where they went. Of course, we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only thing like that makes zero sense is 2013. First off, the kids know what a VHS is. And second off, they have a VCR attached to their flat screen TV.
Wow, you're picking up some things that I must have just glossed over. You're right.
So
I Yeah.
it's interesting that it's that like I don't think my kids know what a VHS is, and they're younger, but I have them, so I don't know.
I was gonna say I have them too, and if I said to my son, "Do you know what a VHS is?" he would say, "The movies first, and then those things you have that play movies that you don't use." Yeah, those.
Yep. So for number of hefty bags out of 10, it's I'll kind of go first. Mine I gave this is 6 hefty bags out of 10. It has interesting parts to it. It is low budget, and I do appreciate some of the special effects being used. But like I said, I don't think the first story is very strong. The second story isn't great either.
Right.
So that's why I kind of leave it at 6 garbage bags out of 10. How about you, Anthony?
I must have given you one of my garbage bags. I'm I'm at a 5.
Hmm.
But essentially we don't disagree here. I
Yeah.
just felt that the middle one was just after the good setup, just too bad to enjoy. And the first one, yeah, I'm just basically parroting what you said. I agree with you, but I go one garbage bag less. Yeah. So, but look, to horror fans, especially fans of low budget DIY horror, see it. It has many a thing to enjoy in it.
Yeah.
My thumb isn't down, as the Sicilian used to say. My thumb is up, but just barely got up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good watch, and I think it kind of leaves at least Art the Clown his core lore to himself is there in this movie.
Agreed.
Now, whether they go more supernatural after number one is a whole other story. But it gives you the creep factor, and especially when it's not David playing Art the Clown. I
Right.
think David will continue that style that was laid out in this one.
Yeah. Now, okay, yeah, we'll get there. Sorry, I'm
Yes.
jumping ahead.
So do you want to just give like a couple sentence recap of Terrifier, Anthony?
Sure.
Okay.
Terrifier is the 2016, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello. Look, it's Art the Clown's first adventure in in New York City and New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it's where we first meet him. It's where the groundwork is laid by the wonderful work by Thornton,
Mm-hmm.
who just doesn't. I mean, Marcel Marceau, the great mime, is probably like, why didn't I think of that wherever he is now? Like, my God, he's better than me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually, he's French, so I don't know why I did an old 40s accent for him. But yeah, and it tells the story of two unfortunate women coming home from a Halloween party who encounter Art the Clown, and I feel weird because I fear there's a lot of people that haven't seen it, so I'll just say he stalks them, and I don't know. Should we elaborate or?
Yeah. I mean, spoilers alert. Ahead for that. Typically, when it's older movies, we don't say spoilers. Well, I mean, honestly, when we get to Terrifier 3, all the spoilers would be there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
No, yeah. Uh, I forgot where I left off. I'm sorry. By the way, just very quickly, uh, but I mean, okay, yeah, it's set on Halloween. It is just this. It's very low budget, and it even has the look of All Hallows Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Leon does the same lighting techniques, and upon first viewing, people might say, the uninitiated might say, this is really badly done. It's not. It's lit a certain way purposely. Um, the girl escapes into this abandoned building where where Terrifier, I don't want to say lives, but is. And there's just some really creepy things that happen in this film. That I mean, it's this nightmarish gore fest of practical effects and some truly terrifying pantomime by David Howard Thornton as
Mm-hmm.
Art the Clown that really I think set the tone for the rest of the films. But looking back on it now, it's still wild and crazy and but man, it could be called the tamest of of the three, if that's the right word to use.
I mean, yeah, that it definitely is, and I think that David does a fantastic job as art, as you pointed out,
Mm.
that it is good. Like to me, like this is the best homage to a video nasty from the 80s.
Oh, definitely.
It
Yeah,
feels like it.
it does. It feels because yeah, you remember picking up something from the VHS store and taking it home, and you didn't know that it was made for $1,000 in the Bowery in New York City, and and you just feel grimy watching it. And by the way, I say that in the positive. I love those kinds of things. Basket Case and all that.
Yeah.
Quick examples. I love feeling grimy. I love films. Basket Case, a different type of film, but same principle here. The original Texas Chainsaw. I love films where you can smell them.
Yeah.
You can smell the rooms they're in, and you don't like the smell, and that's Terrifier. You're right. That's harkening back to that kind of video nasty VHS treasures that I call them. Even the ones I hated had enough fun gore in it to say, "Hey, I hate this, but let's watch it again."
Right.
Those were truly the days, and this is, as you said, the biggest homage to them.
Yeah. And it's something that I I discuss with this with my wife, especially with when I'm doing the podcast, and she goes, like, there's some movies that she'll watch with me. Fine. There's other movies like Terrifier she refuses to watch just because she hears about, quote, those scenes. And
Right.
I go, like, to me, it's not any different than, especially this first one, an 80s slasher. Yeah, it's a serial killer. It's not, Jason Voorhees, but it's still creative kills with great practical effects. Like, you don't think it's, CGI. It's not like the Saw franchise where you think, okay, this looks too real. This is clearly practical effects,
Yeah.
but done. It's like, someone took Tom Savini's class and then used new technology to
Yeah.
make it better.
I think the effects are incredible in all three, by
Yeah.
the way. But to see Terrifier for the first time, you're not expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
From the director of All
No.
Hallows Eve, yeah, there'll be some good blood here and there, but no, 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 no. You just don't know. And I was pleased when I left that thing. And as you very quickly you talked about your wife. My wife used to be into it, and she admittedly says something changed when we had our son. Mind you,
Mm-hmm.
that was 16 years ago, but her ability to stomach certain things changed. But once he got, and when I saw the first Terrifier, I said, "Don't worry, hon, I won't ever ask you to watch this." And once he got of age and started watching the films, he begged my wife last October, begged her. He's like, "Come on, mom, please, we can shut it off at any moment to watch the first two films," and she did. And she said I had a fun time with them. I don't ever need to see them again. And she said, I have a feeling that these are going to be the goriest things that I'll ever see. I think that's a glowing review coming from her insight on horror films today. So, and he's currently begging her to go see the third one again. He wants to see it again. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see what
Yeah.
happens there. Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah. Like I said, like my wife loved the first stuff by Eli Roth, like Cabin Fever. Absolutely
Yeah,
loved. She thought Hostel was really gross, but Hostel was more realistic than Terrifier, I feel.
yeah,
But she was
yeah,
able to
yeah,
watch that.
exactly. My
But
wife
yeah,
actually liked the first Hostel too. She wasn't big on the second one, but she liked the
yeah,
first one.
yeah. And like, she watched the first couple of Saw movies, and then she's like, this is too realistic. But like I said,
That's
this.
exactly what my wife says. She says, I don't mind I'll do Romero all day long.
Hmm.
She loves Romero, but it's when it's the reality based stuff she can't dig it.
Yeah. So Anthony, for you, it was the biggest highlight for you. As obviously we talked about the homage to the '80s
Right.
Savini work, right?
Biggest highlight for me, and forgive me, your audience doesn't know me. I promise I'm a decent fella. Is and I think you know where I'm going. The kill where he hangs the woman naked upside down
Hmm.
and just cuts her in half
Yep.
in wide shot with a couple of quick cut close-ups. I just think, I mean, fascinating from a filmmaking point of view. Uh,
Right.
it just what he did with the gore there, and he didn't make the scene too dumb, too silly, or too, oh my God, come on, that looks ridiculous. It looked very real. Again, you could smell that whole area they were in.
Yep.
But when he does that, and it's not just the effects and the shock of that particular moment, it's also Thornton's performance while he's doing these things. It's like a
Right.
clown at a kid's birthday party who's, doing balloon animals and keeps look at this one. Haha, look at this one. The glee, the joy that Art the Clown is having, not just doing it, but showing the other girl what he's doing to her friend
Right.
is it's really I mean, from an idea level, I think that's fantastic, and that's my favorite scene in the movie. It's the highlight of the film for me.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's definitely that scene, right?
Yeah, and yeah, that is
that everyone
that
talks
scene,
about.
right?
The bone tomahawk scene.
Oh yeah, nice. Yes, yes. Another favorite of mine. Another favorite of mine. Get westerns and
Yeah,
horror. Come on, you sold me. My
yeah.
two happy
So
places on this planet. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't think she'd be alive till he got to her head, and she seemingly was.
Right.
But like that's awful. You know, there's been a number of movies where people get cut in half from ass to face with
Oh
a
yeah,
circular
sure.
saw and stuff like that. So, but yeah, like you said, his showcasing of it is like, oh, like yeah, here's a balloon animal for you. Look how great I am. Funny, ha ha ha.
Uh-huh.
And this scene in particular, as you said, really showcases David without speaking while wearing face paint and a mask. His enthusiasm, his acting chops to say nothing, but you get exactly what he's thinking and feeling.
I agree, and dare I say, but I kind of stick to this. I mentioned it in my Terrifier 3 review. I didn't say it exactly like this, but in retrospect, I'm thinking he might be. We'll see what he does in other things beyond Art the Clown. But
Mm-hmm.
so far, he could be the Doug Jones of independent horror films.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's just what he does. He uses every inch of his body. It's it's almost like humans don't move that way. It's like he was drawn, and it's
Right.
just a ridiculously great performance.
Yeah. I know he has recently said, I think last week, he wants to play the Joker.
Yeah. Oh, he is pushing hard for that.
Yeah.
I hope we can put the whole Joker thing to bed, but if they must do something else with the Joker, let it be him. He would be. Have you seen? I follow him on Instagram. I'm sure you do too. Have you seen the video he put up with the makeup and the movement? And
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
I think he would be definitely an R-rated Joker easily.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think
he
he would get the joke without getting into it. I think he would get the
yeah.
Joker back to what the Joker's supposed to be. You know, he's not a broken man from a broken family. He's just a pure psychopath. And he does psychopath
he's the
shit
best.
to
Yeah.
watch it happen, you know?
He's the most unreliable narrator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would love to see him, even if it's a low budget Joker, to let it happen.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
for sure.
Mhm.
All right, so Anthony, what about low points for you from Terrifier?
I, I, I'll be honest, and I'm sorry, I have one more like co-highlight, and I'll just say it very
Oh yeah.
quickly. The whole pizza scene, pizza place
Mm-hmm.
scene. And I'm talking before the kills, just him across the table from the two of those. And you know, you and guys like you and I, we've seen it all. The first time I
Yeah.
saw that, I said to my buddy, I leaned over, I said, dude, this is actively creepy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the way the scene is playing out and Art the Clown doing his thing, that is just creepy. And he was like, yeah, it really is. But anyway, that's my co-highlight. My low point is the ending. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know he's taking it. Leon's taking it a certain place, um, which is evident in the other two. But I think he might have had his vision in his mind, but I don't think it plays on screen. On screen, the finale of that film, First Terrifier, plays like he's just, and we'll do that.
Yep.
And we'll figure out something for part two if we make one. And that really hurt all that came before. Not to the point where, well, I can't recommend this. I still predominantly, mostly love the film, but that the finale it's almost like somebody turned off a TV before the good part started, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it really hurts the later half of the movie. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I mean that absolutely. I feel like the ending of Terrifier 1 should have been solely saved for Terrifier 2. I think
Yeah,
it should have ended with him shooting himself, and you just go, "This guy is so screwed up. He's a serial killer, enjoys it." And then he goes, "All right, I'm done," and shoots himself in the head.
yeah.
End it there.
There you go.
That's, to me, that'd been more terrifying than this first foray into the supernatural. That
I agree. Yeah, you gotta slowly get your fan base, set them down, and then okay, now we'll go here.
right,
I fully agree. That would have been a fantastic ending. Just the pop of the gunshot, movie's over.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And the other low point I really have is, the if this is a cliche of horror movies and really stage characters, is if you have an older lady that is a vagrant or
Yeah,
homeless, she always has my baby.
you're right. You're right. That's a low point. I guess I had put her out of my head. Yeah. You wanna look? It's my bed. Yeah, we've seen that 1,000 times.
I mean, you even have it in like the really old "Don't Look in the Basement" from like
Yes,
1972, where
yes, you do. I like that.
every character in that patient is a character cliche.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. We didn't need that. And you could remove her from the movie and Terrifier, and you lose nothing, you gain nothing. You know,
Right.
it's just she's gone, and the train keeps rolling without a bump.
Yep. But I
Yeah.
think that's just a cliche that needs to go away.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that was the last one, but I doubt it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, Anthony, why don't you go first here? For number of hefty garbage bags out of 10, what do you give the first Terrifier?
Well, I'm glad that I had to use one of Art the Clown's strong ones because I had a lot of positives in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I go eight. Eight
Eight?
hefty garbage bags.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had just recorded the other part of this. I gave this an 8 as well. I think this is, in my opinion, spoilers for the rest of this franchise, the strongest entry of this franchise.
Uh, we'll talk. We'll talk in a few minutes here.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it is the, like I said, it is the quintessential 80s homage, and I think it does for the most part really well.
Right.
Rob Zombie has the 70s exploitation. I think Damien has with this one the 80s grindhouse feel, and it's fantastic for
Oh yeah,
for
he owns it at this point.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get into then Terrifier 2. I'm gonna say it right now, way too long of a movie. It doesn't need to be over 2 hours. I don't think horror movies necessarily need to be 2 hours plus.
I don't.
Personally,
I mean, I agree. I was about to say, I don't. I do agree, and that's one of my
yeah,
controversial opinions on The Shining. But that's another show.
yeah. And kind of like, and what really is interesting with Terrifier 2 is, quite honestly, there's two plot points, two plot threads. You have Sienna and Jonathan that barely interact with Art, and then you have Art as a whole doing his
Yeah.
own shtick. Um, Long story short, it's been essentially a year since the first Terrifier, even though 6 in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
and Art is back, and to the point where we pick up where the last one left off. He's going to a dry cleaner and just sits naked, clean his clothes, and we introduce to the first inkling of the deeper lore, air quotes here, of the little girl clown at the dry
Right.
cleaner
Right.
that only he's able to see, and essentially he takes her under the wing. Then we were really introduced to Sierra and Jonathan and their mother. A year ago, their dad had died. I don't think, yeah, we find out later on that he committed suicide by drinking the entire bottle of Jack and crashing his car and getting set on fire. We get a
Right.
little bit more backstory to him. He is a comic book creator, and we find out that he kind of drew Art the Clown previously, and that he started getting visions, which we get more into with Terrifier 3. And I guess, to make long short, the daughter Sienna really loved him, and they're all just kind of coping with the death a year later. It's been about a year anniversary for that as well. Maybe it's correlated to the first Art the Clown, maybe not. And so she's kind of going through this. They start seeing stuff more and more, and eventually she runs into Art at a very unorganized spirit Halloween, and
Yeah.
um, to the point where her friends see her and Art the Clown starts to terrify her, and we get to I'm gonna go with that scene of her friend Allie essentially just getting massacred to no end.
Mm.
Literally bleach being poured on her open wounds and literal salt being rubbed into her wounds.
Mm.
And then Art essentially flaying her and eating her. Very, very Jack the Ripper.
Oh,
Because
very much so, yeah.
that exact scene is essentially what Jack the Ripper was known for, especially with one of his last kills.
Mm.
And then so we get more stuff like that. And long story short, like I said, more kills happen, and Sienna's able to have this weird connection where she dreams of like the clown cafe, and her dreams start to come to real life. So maybe that's how Art found her. It's never really stated. All kind of ends up in the showdown where she essentially becomes a angel, a prophet of good with a flaming sword that her dad happened to make, and is able to vanquish Art the Clown, and decapitate him.
Mm.
And then we get the arguably the longest post credits scene I have ever seen of about
Oh, it's
3.5
horrendous.
minutes
Yeah.
of Chris Jericho leading up to Art the Clown being his head being birthed out of the woman that survived the first massacre that tore apart the interviewer in the first one.
Right. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the movie.
But yeah, I mean, the interviewer was played by the babysitter from All Hallows Eve. Different
Right.
character, same person. Um,
Forever in horror
it's
lore now.
I kind of go, yeah, and kind of like a good highlight for me. This is a highlight and low point for me. Is it upped the ante in a good way, also in a bad way.
All right. Oh.
I think that Damon's like, okay, we have to up the gore. We have to up ourselves. I don't think that's always the case, and that eventually ends up ruining the franchise as it continues to go. It always has to up the ante. So, but still, though, the alley scene, the gore, practical effects were still really, really good.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, those are like the main highlights I have of the movie. How about you?
Yeah, the main highlight I have as well is that scene,
Mm-hmm.
Allie in the bedroom, and it also, and forgive me, I promise I'm not a psychopath, folks. It also gave me the biggest laugh of the entire series. One of them. He leaves the room after peeling her skin.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Okay, I might not die. I might have a chance." I mean, you're assuming that's what she's thinking. She's crawling,
Yeah.
And then he pops. He even takes his bag with him. You think he's gone, and he pops back in with the salt and the vinegar, right? Or no,
Mm-hmm.
cleaning fluid.
Yeah, like bleach. Yeah.
Yeah, and just does a little quick at the doorway. Check this out, face. And I'm telling you, I laughed so hard in the theater when I saw that for the first time. I thought they were going to throw me out. Like, there's something wrong with this guy. Get him out of here. It's more credit to Thornton on that one as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is the supreme highlight of that film. And yeah, if I had to pick over the whole series, that would be a contender for number one. That whole sequence,
Mm-hmm.
the video nasty martyrs sequence, I'll call
Yes.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just fantastic, and just to get a laugh. I wasn't the only one that laughed. I just laughed really hard. uh, to get a laugh out of that scene is just to Leon's credit.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way, and David Thornton, the way they pieced that together. And I don't know which one of their idea was to have him stop for a second and, like, party time, that look, but
Yeah.
it just works so well. And when I talk about the Terrifier franchise, it's the one that's pretty much, well, it kind of was The one that's foremost, right in my head,
Right.
top of my head there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember this maybe testament of how much I watch horror movies or maybe desensitized I am. I remember watching Terrifier 2 the first time and we're talking about that scene that made everyone sick. And I
Hmm.
watched it and I go, did I miss something?
Yeah.
I'm like, and then I did some research, like, oh, it's, the alley scene. I go, oh, I mean, I've seen stuff like that before in horror movies.
Oh yeah, me
I didn't
too.
think it was, I mean, it was great, but I don't think it was as gut wrenching and nauseating as everyone says it was because we've seen this before. Like you said, Martyrs did
Yeah.
a
And
whole
Martyrs
filleting scene.
had a kick to it, you know?
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the way they did it in Martyrs had a real gut punch to the reasons and the way it was doing it. And one
Yeah.
thing I liked about that scene as well is in Terrifier 2, most people would do some mood lighting to make it more grimy. No, he has all the lights on,
Yep.
It's a bedroom, all the lights on, everything's bright, and he's doing his thing. I thought that was the way to go there. Kind of like comparing to Landis in American Werewolf,
Mm-hmm.
They, why didn't you do some dark? He's like, nah, I want everybody to see everything. So he has all the lights on in the apartment when he first transforms. And
Right. And
yeah,
I
I like
think that works really well. And I think Ari Aster did an entire movie essentially in daylight with
that's
Midsummer,
true.
right? And
Yeah,
it's just
you're
and
right.
like
Yeah,
and you just show no, you're seeing everything.
yeah, exactly. We're not shy. You're here for a horror movie,
Yeah.
okay? you know, I know some are dark, but check this out. Yeah, and I
Right.
appreciate that kind of thing. Even to a lesser extent, Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Fulci's. A lot of
Yep.
daylight scenes in that one. Not a ton,
Yeah.
but there's some good stuff in the daylight.
Right.
Yeah,
All right. So
no.
Anthony, what are some low points for you on this then?
One of my low points is you mentioned it, but at the same time, my one of my low points is the length. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how many fun kills you throw in there, you don't need to be as long as Raging Bull. I'm not knocking Raging Bull. I'm just saying Raging Bull is 220 as well, and so's this. Raging Bull has a lot to say in those 2 hours and 20 minutes. Leon's
Right.
taking it as, well, let's just do another kill. We'll pad the running time, which is also what I like. We get more kills in this one, longer stretches of them, like for instance the scene we were just speaking of. But I think the length upon second and third viewing, I think the length might just not hurt it, but a little speed bump there. It's not as
Right.
tight as it probably could have been at 2 hours or just under. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of my only negative on this one. Besides the fact that he basically, uh, you know, asks more questions and or raises more questions than he answers until later, and he still hasn't answered them. We'll get there as well. But yeah, but those two things are for me really the only low points in that one. I had a
Yeah.
blast. I had an absolute
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah. For me, it went way too supernatural. It went almost to Dream Warrior state.
It did. You are
Uh,
correct. It does. Which I mean,
and I felt, yeah.
no, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just saying I
Um,
didn't
uh,
have a big problem with
yeah,
it.
but to me, Art the Clown would have been more terrifying as just a random psychopath.
I agree
I
there, but then I mean, he wants to keep him going, and you have to do some kind of Michael Myers esque supernatural to him just to
right.
keep him around, I guess, or he would have been dead a long time ago. And some of
Well,
the
I
things
mean,
he does, a human just can't do.
right.
So,
And then the thing that I don't think would ever happen in the real world is, all right. So in Art the Clown, it's been, in this world, it's been a year, and his body disappeared within the day of him getting killed, right? Of him
right.
shooting himself in the head. First and foremost, I don't think there's enough evidence of people knowing what he looks like, let alone a year later in the same town of a serial killer, people dressing up as Art the Clown.
Yeah, you're right. That was a little much. I agree. I agree there.
People were not dressing up as Ted Bundy or Ed Gein within a year.
You are correct, sir. Yeah. Quick side note, kind of offensive, not offensive, but weird story. I was in college when Bundy was put to death,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in Florida. That's where it was going on, and bars and burger joints were having, come in for the Bundy burger, extra well done, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, I don't think anyone would know what Art the Clown looked like.
No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, because I'm thinking in the way he couldn't see, he's the only one that could see the little pale girl. I'm wondering if it's only the people who come into, or he comes into direct contact with, that can see him. I wonder. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
I don't know, because you'd think that the guy in the laundromat would have been able to see her too.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure. But like I said, that speaks to what I said a few minutes ago. This one kind of raises more questions than it wants to answer.
Yeah. And
But
I'm not sure it needs I'm not sure it needs those questions though, quite honestly.
no, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I'm agreeing with you completely on that. I just think that I don't know how else they could have Art do the things he does if he wasn't something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just dreading the fact they might go in, 40 years and going, hey, yeah, all that supernatural stuff, it's not true. We'll have, David Gordon Green's son.
Oh no. Hush your mouth. Hush your mouth. Blasphemer. Blasphemer. No offense, David Gordon Green. You've made some good films. You stay away from my Exorcist.
Yeah.
And mostly my Halloween.
Yeah. All right. So for number of hefty garbage bags out of 10, this probably might differ a little bit. Is I felt like this was, in some ways, especially with the supernatural stuff, jumping the shark a bit. Where I like lore, but I don't need like that hefty of lore. I like more mystery in the slashers. I don't necessarily need the answers to it. So
sure.
I will give this 6 hefty garbage bags out of 10. How about you?
Oh, well, we do differ. I'm going with another 8 hefty garbage bags out of 10. While I think I do find the first one the best, I think this one is just strong enough for me to do it. I agree. It didn't need to be 2.5 hours almost, but I have a great time. There's a lot of padding in this one, but I really did have a great time. I think it's well done. I think it has all 3 of them, but have a perverse creativity, that is more than welcome in today's jump scare heavy, mostly pedestrian, big budget horror flicks, And I think that got me over the line. I probably in my heart should say 7, but I'm going with 8 because man, I just love the kills in this one. Thornton, he was already great, but really comes into his own as Art in this one. And I think it's pretty terrific, flaws and all.
Yeah, I mean, they could have cut out the Clown Cafe and we would not have lost anything.
It's strange. I agree with you, but throw the Clown Cafe with the vagrant pseudo mother from the first one. But man, I had a good time with it. It went on too long, but I had a good time with it. I thought it was a neat, weird, unnecessary segment.
For sure.
I've said that about more than a few movies, by the way. Well, this is really unnecessary, but I'm having a good time.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's, like I said, there's a couple of points that I would have changed, but
Yeah,
I obviously he's sticking through to his vision. So we'll see
of
how
course.
maybe the fourth one, maybe last one, he'll get more money and make more. Let's face it.
Yeah,
But
it's our fault. We keep going.
I know we are sick in that way. Yes, I don't disagree.
And
All right,
I'll go to
so
every one of them.
yeah. All right. So heavy spoilers ahead for Terrifier 3 at time of recording. Just been out for I think 9 days at this point.
Yeah.
So Anthony, you want to give a quick recap of Terrifier 3?
I'd just like to start out by saying numero uno at the box office, as was Terrifier 2 when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, children, 'twas the night before Christmas, and all through that. No, that's not. This adding to the video nasties, Leone does his Christmas horror. He does his Silent Night, Deadly Night to the nth degree, and then straight on till morning. I mean, it's crazy. He enhances the extreme brutality of the first two. It starts with the prologue, the slaughter, and we're spoilering, right? That's okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Spoilering. I think I made a new word for you. We meet this family on Christmas Eve, I believe, and Art the Clown tears through them. Warning for the uninitiated: kids are not safe in this one at all.
No.
And he, in some great practical gore, but nothing too over the top, he kills a family on Christmas Eve. The mom kill is my favorite of that moment. It's drawn out just enough, but it's not brutally over the top, but it's brutal. After
Yeah.
that, we move. I think it's 5 years later after
Yep.
Terrifier 2, and we meet Sienna Shaw again after the murder of her family. She's getting out of a mental health facility and living with her aunt and uncle and little niece,
Abby.
Margaret.
Abby.
Margaret. No. Yeah. No. Antonella. I think Margaret's the aunt, Antonella's the niece. One of my favorite characters in the movie, by the way. And but I'll tell you why later.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, Sienna's brother, is away at college, trying to live as normal a life as he can. But the trauma from watching the slaughter of his family is always there. And plus, he has a little true crime enthusiast annoyance in his roommate's girlfriend, who just wants to exploit his trauma. Yeah, things are not well for Sienna or Jonathan or anybody that breathes the same air they breathe. Art the Clown comes back. I can't remember. Did we mention the finale of part 2 that at
The
the end of
post
part
credits.
2?
No, we
Yeah,
didn't.
Victoria births the severed head of Art because he was decapitated.
Mm-hmm.
And that jumped off the supernatural stuff that we both hate about this. A policeman finds Art's headless body. I don't have to tell you, very soon the cop's head is removed and is used to help Art reconnect with both Vicky and his severed dome. He and Vicky set up some kind of a macabre home in a condemned building where they quite literally rest for 5 years.
Hibernation, yeah.
Yeah, basically hibernation. She lays in a tub and tries to kill herself because I don't think she enjoys the monster she's become, and of course realizes that she cannot die. And Art sits after killing, by the way, 2 demolition workers. Art relaxes, quote unquote, in a attic rocking chair. Oh no, I'm sorry. The construction workers come 5 years later when they are awakened. Yeah.
Yeah, they touch him and set off the
Right. Yeah, the
emotions of the
guy's like,
movie.
"Are you real?" Something no one would ever do. You can
No.
tell that's a real dude. But Art returns to his carnage. Victoria embraces her inner and outer grotesqueries, and the two become like a demonic Bonnie and Clyde tearing through everything. And this one is way darker, way darker than the other two, and the other two are as dark as they come.
Yeah,
is my opinion. Yeah, of course they go to they end up at the aunt and uncle's house. They end up at the college where Jonathan is, and they off his roommate and the roommate's annoying girlfriend. And we'll get to that scene when you ask me about
the
something
scene.
later. And yeah, and I mean, I won't go all the way to the ending, but they're all on a collision course to wackiness. That's what's happening. I mean, it's yeah. Victoria. I'm sorry. Can I continue? Victoria is one of the just most frightening horror creations in some time in this film. I mean, in the other two, she's just grotesque. And here, I think she matches Art's depravity, beat for beat. Maybe even enjoys her work a little more. I think it's
she enjoys it with a nice piece of glass.
with a nice piece of what's that?
Glass.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That yeah. Can I just tell you that I've seen a lot with my son, but there's certain things you don't want to be watching with your son, no matter how old he could be 40. And to watch someone, can I say it?
Yeah.
Can I reveal what happens? To
Yeah.
watch basically a creature, a woman creature masturbate with a piece of glass shard, heavily, hard, there's nothing soft about her. Yeah. Is a little unnerving. I'm like, hey, son, you want to go grab some popcorn real quick, please? But yeah, that's one hell of a scene. But she's as depraved as Art is. I think her creation in this one, in the first two, mostly the second, it was shock. In this one,
Yeah.
excuse me, I think Leone wants to disturb us. And look, you can have fun with Art the Clown, even though he's dangerous and deadly, but Victoria is something to fear. And I liked that, at least for her character, Leone moved closer to the more sinister aspects than he had in the previous films. The macabre humor is still here, folks, but there's just something more unnerving into the design of this one for me, and I appreciate it. It's a pure nightmare. I mean, the whole series is a pure nightmare. There's
Right.
There's no excuse me. A lot of horror films give you a reprieve. There's the horror, there's the scares, there's the jump scares, there's the frights, and then there's a moment of levity. And then here, and then there, and then scare. The Terrifiers as a whole, and really especially this one for me anyway, it's just all dark, and there's you laugh at Art the Clown, but there's no reprieve, there's no joke here, there's no fake jump scare. Oh, it's just me, Joe, popping out. Stop it, silly, that kind of thing. It is all dark, and this is the darkest and most unnerving of the trilogy, I think. I mean, would you agree on that, or?
Yes and no. I mean, I feel that the bar scene was kind of that reprieve because he didn't really do, basically he just pulls out the gun and shoots Clint Howard in the head, which is unfortunate for Clint Howard. Yeah. There are definitely things like the practical effects still are there. Now, what I noticed the first time was the CGI.
I caught a little bit myself, yeah.
Which is, it doesn't necessarily need to have. We think it's done well without it. And it's just a little bit unnerving just to see it for the first time in this, and you can tell that the budget's there now for it, so
right.
it's there. Um, now I could say without a doubt that the mall scene with Santa's helpers, I was not expecting it to go the way it did. I thought for
Me,
sure that in his sack would be body parts, dead animals, stuff like
right.
that.
I
Not toys.
agree. Yeah.
Um, and while and something that's interesting with this movie is there's always that adage is you can't see a kid get killed on screen. You can show the aftermath.
Right.
You can't see the process, and that happens in the opening scene of this,
Uh,
and the explosion that happens as well. You don't actually see it; it's very heavily implied. Which
right.
for this being always, Damien always takes it to the next step and goes one step farther. I'm shocked that he didn't break that rule
Right.
of showing the killing of a kid. Not that I want to see it.
Right.
I'm
I
just saying I'm
understand.
surprised he actually didn't go there.
Yeah. He spoke about that in an interview I was listening to. He said basically the same thing. There's some lines I won't cross, and he was
Mm-hmm.
asked about that moment, and he said, "Oh, I'll show you what happened, or else I'll either show you or I will tell you, have another character tell you, but I'm not going to show you the act itself on a child. I can't do that." And
Yeah.
that's both commendable and, forgive me, I'm a father, but oh, come on, you're a filmmaker. If you want to shock
Yeah.
us, shock us. I mean, he would have lost maybe a couple $1,000,000 on his second weekend for doing that, but I don't know. I don't like seeing kids in peril either, but you have to set the tone. If the tone works, then you're not going to be too disturbed by it. Uh, a
Right.
quick off the top of my head example that just popped in is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I mean, you see these kids get
Mm-hmm.
whipped and short rounds whipped and punched and shoved around. He's gonna be okay. Indy's gonna, but I mean, these kids wouldn't be okay in Leone's film. But it's the context in which it is, and I think by part 3 he has set us up for anything. Again, like you, I don't want to see kids
Right.
being slaughtered. I don't think that's fun. But I almost think he pulled back a little when he maybe shouldn't have. I don't know. Personal
Yeah.
taste, at
Well,
least.
let's face it. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Arguably, most people think of the first kid being killed actually on camera you've seen is the '88 Blob. Like you see
Oh
the kid
yeah,
getting like melted by the blob in the sewer.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's true.
in my head, if the blob can show that, he could have shown at least the kid with the axe the first time
Right, or at least one
in
chop.
an opening
You know.
scene. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. So
yeah,
that to me, that's just like he pulled back,
yeah.
as you said.
Yep, I
So,
agree. And again, we're not
um,
advocating for kids to be slaughtered all over film screens, but if you're gonna, like I said, the tone's set. If you're gonna go there, go there, and we're not gonna be like, "Oh my God, he did that." At
right.
least I wouldn't.
And yeah, no. And like I said, it's, we go, oh, they're 16, 17, and they're having sex and doing drugs. We can watch them die.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
14, no.
junior
14,
high
no.
kid, you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. But hey, yeah, if you're 18, 19 and you're having sex, just stick something through both of them at the same time. We're fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what are your biggest highlights then, Anthony, for Terrifier 3?
Well, I promised we'd get back to it. The wowsy, the kill scene of Jonathan's roommate and his girlfriend in the shower room.
Hmm.
We just talked about Leone. I keep saying Leone because it's Sergio Leone, but I think it's Leone. Leone, we keep saying how he pulled back with the kids' deaths. He does not pull back with the chainsaw deaths of these two. it's really a gruesome kill, and it's one of the ones that I keep referring to them, but they were my idols, and one of them was a former boss. But I keep referring to Siskel and Ebert. It's the kind of kill that they would do shows about, saying, "Why the hell are these things on my movie screen?"
Hmm.
And on that flip side of that coin, it's the same. It's the kind of kill that where I'm like, yes, this is why I laid my money down. There was no press screening for this one, so I had to go. Uh, it it's a fantastic kill, and the just rectal chainsaw up, stem to stern is just because when he's starting it, I'm like, well, they're not gonna. Oh nope, there he goes. Okay, all right then, this is awesome. And just the stem to stern of that, and then cutting back to the guy screaming, and then his screaming stops is
Yep.
just fantastic. And I think it ups the ante a little bit on the scene from the first one we talked about, where he
Right.
cuts the woman completely in half. I just thought it was fantastic. I, kudos, and I'm sure Tom Savini, who does a cameo, a very funny cameo, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure he would when he saw this, he's like, "Yeah, guys, you're twisted, but this is great."
Hmm.
I just love the just the twisted design of that whole moment, and that was my highlight. It's just fantastic. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely more brutal. Hands down, one step farther every time.
Yeah,
But at some point in time, it, can you always top yourself? No, I don't think you'll ever be able to.
agreed.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting that he actually that art kills kids. Like you say, you don't see it, but like it's like okay, it's talked about and now actually shown. So especially blowing up the kids at the mall, like I wasn't expecting that.
I was not either. I thought he was going to bring out a chainsaw and chase everybody out of there and kill adults, but
Yeah,
I did not expect that one bit.
yeah. And I did appreciate the fact that spoilers, Art wasn't killed at the end of this, and they have to have some other convoluted method for him coming back.
Ah, yeah.
So
We'll
like
get,
he just kind of disappears.
yeah, we'll get to that
So
ending on your next question to me.
yeah, let's go there then. What are your low points for this?
The ending. Yeah, the ending, and yeah, I know he's, I mean, look, Raimi did it in Evil Dead 2. The ending, you're like, what? What are you doing here? What? But he made it
Hmm.
work. Let's hope Leon can do it as well. I didn't like all that. I didn't like all that at all. And I love Jason Patrick, by the way. Speaking of her father in flashback, I love Jason Patrick. He hasn't exactly done great stuff over the last decade and a half, but he's a damn good actor. He's been in some of my favorite films, and it was weird to see him in this. And his performance, I mean, I know he doesn't have a lot of range, but he seemed really distant here, like detached from this whole thing. Maybe he did it because, yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know, but it didn't work for me either. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was one of them. The ending, the whole portal opening, and
Hmm.
come on, man! Like you said about the second one, I can go supernatural, but let's not lose our heads here. You know, I really don't want to see some wild, mystical Terrifier fight in the next one, or mystical CGI world because he now has the money for that. Um, I don't
It's
want Jason
probably
Goes to
going there.
Hell. What's that?
And so it's probably going there,
It's
unfortunately.
it is going there. I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't want to, and I also at the same time I don't want to give a bad review to a Terrifier film. So please, Leons, tread lightly on the next one. Uh, yeah, I just didn't like the way it was handled. I didn't like. Oh look, I'm throwing more shit at you here. I'm like, oh great.
Yeah.
So that really killed again, like I said in the first one, that killed the finale for me. The final act
Mm-hmm.
just killed it. After that great homage to Texas Chainsaw 2, where she's fighting him in the, I think they're in the kitchen with the chainsaw, and
Yep.
she has her sword, and it's that was great. And then we go there, and that didn't work. Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me. That was my low point.
Yeah,
That and
I have. Yeah, okay. So part of this, part of Art the Clown, unfortunately, feels like a parody of himself now.
yeah, I agree
Um,
there.
we have art. We arguably have more Art the Clown than ever, which is
Yeah,
good and bad.
right.
Uh, like he. I think it's almost the tongue in cheek is almost too much of he's one stop short of just looking at the camera at us saying, "Ooh, look at this stuff now." He's gotten too farcical in his kills
I
a
agree.
little bit.
I at the same time I still have fun with them though.
Yeah. Um. There's two things that kind of rub me the wrong way is the lore, the portal to hell,
Mm-hmm.
this demonology that is now being set up. The fact that like her Sienna's dad had this like vision of art. We are going to literally have heaven versus hell. I
Yeah.
think in Terrifier 4,
Yeah.
which is unnecessary. That it's like that. This really is just jumping the shark
Oh,
for
I
the
agree.
lore side of it.
Yeah.
And so that part of it really drags the reins down for me. It's just like it doesn't need to be that, and unfortunately, that's where it's going. Um,
Yeah.
that's my concern with it. And quite honestly, is Sale and I were discussing, we feel like there is a scene missing from the movie. It's the
Interesting.
uncle going to pick up Jonathan.
Right.
Sienna's drugged into sleep. All of a sudden, wakes up. Everyone's in their house.
Yeah. Right.
I feel like I'm missing something. And Jonathan, who was a huge part of the second one,
mm-hmm.
unceremoniously gets killed off screen.
I have a theory on that. I
Oh,
I don't, and my son thinks I'm crazy, and you probably will too. I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. I think that's another torture technique. I know they have his glasses, and I hope I'm right because you're right on just an insult to the character and the actor to do that.
mm-hmm.
But remember, they were saying, this is your, when they were holding the skull. And they're like, no, just kidding. It's not, And then they did it again and put his glasses on. So I'm wondering if it's just a torture technique or if he is dead. Some stupid, once she gets down in that mystical portal of hell, she can conjure him up. I don't know.
Well, and that's my concern too, because the uncle's killed off screen too. We only see the aftermath, which is weird.
I hated that. Yeah, I was angry about that.
Like we always get to see the kills. Now we're getting aftermath kills,
Right.
which doesn't make any sense and doesn't fit into the Terrifier world, in my opinion.
Agreed. I actually was unsure. Is that that's got to be. Yeah, that's him. I
Yeah,
figured it out quickly, but let
yeah,
us know.
yeah. So my concern, to kind of jump in your point here, is when she goes to hell, is if this would be I think the biggest middle finger to everyone, is that she saves her entire family.
Oh,
The dad comes back, the mom
there's a
comes back, the
danger of
brother.
that, isn't there?
There is a huge danger of that.
Oh man, that would it would be hard to. Have you ever seen a sequel so bad, with the exception of Halloween, because I can watch the original Halloween 100 times a day. Have you ever seen a sequel so bad that when you go and watch the previous ones that you love so much that it taints them? That would seriously, if they did that, that would seriously taint the series for me.
Basket Case 2 and 3.
There you go. Perfect example. Yeah. Perfect. Wait, I'll say this. What? I don't think those exist. I think there's just basket case in this house.
Yeah, I think it would be the biggest mistake for him to do that, but it feels like that's where it's going.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope I don't disparage anyone's ideas, but I hope you are dead wrong on that one. I like your ideas. We've talked about other things, but I hope he's not listening because I don't want him to take that idea. But you're right. It's scary. It seems like that's where it could go. I mean, they're making her as some kind of a angelic figure, if you will.
Well, so in my base comparison to her character and her dad being a comic book creator and
Yeah.
being indie is that this is Angela from the Spawn comics from the 90s, which is literally an angel to fight demons
I was
with
about
a
to say
flaming
a
sword.
literal angel. Yeah.
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 That's
Like I'm next time I'm watching the movie, which by the way is going to be soon. My son wants to see it again. The ending will show up. I'm like, oh shit! All the stuff we just talked about will go into my head. I'm like, oh man, come on! I'll send you a message. Hey man, you're screwing up my vision here, or my viewing experience. I mean,
yeah.
but you're right. It seems like that's where it's headed.
Yeah, because if everything comes to a happy ending at the end of this macabre world, I don't think it'll sit right with anyone.
Oh no, even the truest fans would revolt on that ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, the just this world of violence and darkness, and that you have created. You cannot, you cannot finish up like that. I think he should go full John Carpenter. I think Art the Clown is unkillable, and Art the Clown wins the day. And what 4 or 5? Hopefully, 4 is the last one, but
Yeah.
whatever the finale is, I think go Carpenter dark ending, man. Nobody wins. Evil triumphs.
Yeah.
That's what this one deserves from the setup of the first 3 films.
Yep. But we'll get probably the final Terrifier. Art's dead, Freddy's dead, Jason goes to hell.
Right.
That's every franchise goes that path eventually. I just don't want to see this do it.
Right, yeah. And I hope somehow that Leone can, since they're ultra low budget, or they were, I hope he can get something, or maybe he already has it in his contract that, okay, when I do the final one, it's the final one. No other filmmaker or studio can buy the, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's even possible anymore. I don't think it is, but I would love that he just holds on to it forever, because I don't want 10 years from now, Terrifier, as you said, David Gordon Green's Terrifier, he's back. I don't want that at all. Filmed in Georgia. But,
all on the green screen.
All on the green screen, right. Get a good score and then kind of flub the rest. I don't know. Oh, but wait, in David Gordon Green's Terrifier would only be in it for a few minutes because there'd be a new character who we'd follow for the entire movie. Like, wait a minute, where's Art?
Yes, the final showdown that no one seems to care about in the movie.
Yeah, and then here's the show. Oh, it's over already. Okay.
Yep.
That was folks. That was our closeted commentary on Halloween Ends.
Yes, it was.
Or not so closeted.
Yeah. All right. So Anthony,
yes.
Number of hefty garbage bags out of 10 do you give Terrifier 3?
Terrifier 3 gets a strong 7 hefty garbage bags out of 10.
Yeah, like I said, the kills are fantastic. The lore and the story is dragging it down.
It is. For my 7, I will say the kills and just the overall gruesomeness of this one. And I mean in design and the way it's shot and everything. I think Victoria in this one Victoria is more interesting than Art the Clown. Uh, I think she's more intense, more intensely spooky. I dare any horror director to scare me these days. It can't be done. I can be unnerved occasionally, and
Right.
I think she was genuinely. I wasn't frightened, but she was genuinely a frightening creation in this film. Her form in this one, she was more interesting to watch than Art. Not saying that Art wasn't still fun, but like you
Right.
said, he's almost too wink, wink, nudge, nudge now.
He is.
And may I very quickly say that another big laugh from Art came in this one is when he sees quote unquote Roebuck as Santa at the bar. He just gets
Mm-hmm.
giddy like a child, and he goes in there and he's pointing at the picture of Santa and pointing at Roebuck and he's just giddy. I thought that was really funny and clever.
Well, once again, it's just a testament to David's work.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I mean, I can't remember the guy's name. Last name starts with a B. Who did him in All Hallows Eve? He retired after that movie, by the way, from acting. I wonder if it was what he saw happen when he went to the premiere. But he was fine as Art, but Art didn't. I wasn't enthralled with Art the Clown when I saw All Hallows Eve. It wasn't until Terrifier that I'm like, this guy's going to be iconic. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's all over the place now, including my son. But yeah, no, he's phenomenal. It's a I mean, yeah, we've already praised him enough, but he's a brilliant pantomime,
Yes.
of insanity.
Mm-hmm.
He's diabolical and funny, and the way we're describing him, let's give him that Joker movie, please.
Yeah.
Let's do it. He can pull it off.
Yeah. But kind of going back to the yard, like I said, the lore and the main story really dragged it down for me.
Yeah.
And when I go see Terrifier 4, my scores are always subject to change, but I have the bad feeling in my stomach that this is going down that path, so it's going down to a 4 for me.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
I hope we always talk about in the show and stuff like that we eventually get to that point where the franchise is so convoluted and a parody of itself that takes the original creator to come back. I hope Terrifier 4 just goes nuts and goes back to the gritty, not as polished movie.
I agree. I'd like to see the griminess of the first one come back.
Yeah.
I want to smell those rooms again, man.
Yeah, and quite realistically, Terrifier 3 did have the scene that made Art really there. We didn't have the shit-stained, smeared bathroom.
That's right. We didn't do it this time.
So that's always more unnerving to me than a gory scene.
Oh, me too. Yeah, feces out of the body. No, I don't like. I mean, human or non-human. That's you can creep me out that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to us hoping that Damien Leone doesn't pull back too much, that we are lamenting scenes of shit being smeared on the wall. But we hope he returns to his glorious days of yesteryear for part 4. Yeah.
Yep. All right, Anthony, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
I just want to say to the initiated, I mean the fan bases out there, the Terrifier series, it's a lot of fun, and even though there's dashes of CGI in part 3, I just am thankful to him, Damien Leone, for really sticking to his guns on gore and practical effects. They come and go. They mostly go, but there are the ones who grew up on films like we did in the 80s and 90s that just keep it alive and fight to keep it alive, and then don't just throw it away. They do something creative with it, and I believe that's what Leone does in this series. And for that, it's a great horror series. If I had to list my top 5 favorite horror series, film series, this wouldn't be in the top 5. but it might float somewhere closer to the bottom 10 or 15. I don't,
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. It has a lot of speed bumps along the way, but it's a pretty fun road, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
And
to the uninitiated, you want to get your horror feet wet, you're going to dive completely into the deep end with these films. There are people I've heard people before, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen? Oh my God, Scream. I know what you did last summer. Maybe you guys shouldn't watch Terrifier because you might be traumatized. And I say that jokingly, but to the uninitiated, just know you're going to see, if you're not familiar with practical effects of the 80s and 90s, or you don't know who Tom Savini is, you will not be prepared for the gore you see in these films. And but I still say see them anyway, because most horror fans I think have embraced, if not the trilogy, at least Art the Clown as something rather iconic. And I like that because it's been some time, excuse me, since we've had such an iconic horror character. And I like Art the Clown.
oh yeah, yeah. And I think, for the uninitiated, yeah. You watch Terrifier, fantastic. Go back though to watch the video nasties of '80s to really appreciate what the practical effects in these movies are.
Oh, sure.
You
And
know.
and for that, hats off to Leone.
Hmm.
Yeah, just keeping it alive, or I should say, reanimating it for a new generation of film and film fans.
Yes. All
And yeah,
right.
it was fun to talk about these. I enjoyed it. Yeah, and it's nice to talk about it with someone. One of my colleagues at the movie review is a fair weather horror guy. He likes a lot of the classics. He's never seen Texas Chainsaw, so on, so on. But he likes Halloween, The Shining, and
Hmm.
but he does. If I said name three video nasties, he couldn't name one. And I've been saying, please watch these. I'd like to. This is before you asked me to be on here. I'd like to do a show on these films, and he's just too skittish. So it's a pleasure to talk with someone about them, but most importantly, to talk with someone who knows their shit, who lived through the video nasties and appreciates the video nasties, I should say. And it makes it more fun, more interesting. And it seems like we're mostly on the same page on the series. Our biggest difference is three, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, if 4 comes out and it completely changes my mind, I will up the score. But I just
So if four doesn't do what you predicted, three gets a
yeah,
better rating.
I'm seeing the drop off.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can feel it too. I know, but I'm trying to keep hope alive, as they say. I said that for the Halloween franchises, and unfortunately, it was part four that made me stop saying that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Anthony, for joining me on this very special Terrifier episode bonus that we are doing, just because this is such a huge, huge thing. And being able to talk to you, my co-host had never seen any of these until this week.
uh-huh.
He held off. He was pleasantly surprised with one. His scores were much lower than mine on the rest of these. So, but I
I
appreciate it.
envy anyone who's seeing them for the first time.
Yeah.
They have such sights to show you.
Yes. So thank you again, Anthony, for coming on.
You're welcome.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me back. I had a great time.
Yes. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.